Okay, this is Brent from tradeguild.blogspot.com. We're on part 2 of the September 12th video. I'm still looking at SLXA. I'm not sure I did justice here. We were kind of rushed. But anyway, we look at this period. This is where the accumulation started on the fundamental indicators that I'm watching up to this period, in which this stock has gone from 15% back here when it started up to 50% over here. So you can see there's not been a lot of price action here, and a big position is just being put in place. We can see kind of that buying here with BOP. TSV has stayed very productive above that zero line, and money stream is just, look at it, it's just flying. It's in a leading divergence. So I think there's huge accumulation here, and I think what happened yesterday, if we take a little closer look, was as we neared this apex, look how low the volume is. So there's not a lot of trades going on, so a couple well-placed sell orders can knock this stock down below this trend line, which is, you know, a lot of technical traders are looking at this trend line, and their stops are going right below it. So the idea is they place these sales to strategically knock this stock down below that trend line, and there we go. We get a shakeout, and you know, we trap some shorts. So this commonly happens right before a base breaks out. So I'm hoping the volume picks up. We didn't see a lot of volume today, which was kind of sad, but we'll see. I think it's a pretty strong position. Next up is HH, which is another symmetrical triangle that we have featured back in here, and I think this was I can't remember whose pick this was. I think it was Sensei Kato's maybe, or. But anyway, there's the big breakout, and this stock looks actually like it's ready to pull back a little bit. If we take a look at the indicators here, looks really good on a daily chart. I think though, when you look at like a 15-minute chart, let me get one up here, we see a little bit of this BOP, we see a little selling. TSV is not really climbing like it should. I think maybe we're going to get a pullback, in a reasonable area I think to get a pullback to is about the 10-day moving average, which is in yellow here. So 340, 350 maybe. So keep an eye on that. This is still a great position with a lot of potential profit above. Next up is ONNN, and this is ONNN Semiconductor, and this was featured on the blog September 5th. And I said, you know, I think this is a base here that is forming and maybe getting ready to break out. And there it broke out today. Well, it didn't really break out, but it had a nice up day, 4.5%, and good volume on that. And you know, take a close look at the volume of this stock. Look at these up days in green. You know, lots of up days in green, lots of buying going on within this little base. So it looks good. Let's take a look at the indicators here real quick with money stream. It is just, actually, let's see, money stream's in quite a leading divergence here. If you look at where price was back here and compare price and where money stream is now, this thing is just plunging ahead. TSV is staying very positive, and lots of buying here in BOP. So ONNN hasn't broken out quite yet, but I think there's lots of upside in that one. Another semiconductor, and this used to be a favorite of mine, is National Semiconductor. And we were looking at this little triangle or pennant, and we made a call on this, I think, back here in the pennant, and it's subsequently broken out. It came up with some earnings. I think they beat on the earnings, but they issued lower guidance, and it just has held up really well. Look at the big volume on the green days. And if we look at the indicators, you see TSV is just swelling up, and this is a very powerful indicator. BOP, you see that nice positive slope there. The buying is increasing, and money stream's in gear. So I think National Semiconductor is going places at some point. It certainly hasn't been too adversely affected by the earnings. Ooh, and look at that divergence there. This is RADS. Money stream over here in a leading divergence. See how price has been coming down. Money stream has been going up. TSV is very productive. BOP, lots of buying. This tells me there's lots of technical buying, so it confirms the strength of this trend. If we didn't see this technical buying, we'd be suspicious of this move here. Let's take a look at a regular chart with volume. Not a huge volume day today. It's well above average, But you can see again, we're talking about these bases that are forming with the 50-day moving average flattening out, and look at the big volume in it on the green days. So that was, I think, reflected in the indicators that we were looking at there. This has been on the blog September 5th, 6th, and 7th. So we were talking about this little pennant here forming a little flag, and we got a breakout from that. So hopefully somebody caught that. As a little side note, the institutional ownership on this stock has gone from 50 to 65% between May and September this year. And last short interest was, the ratio was 11 days to cover. So I think we're seeing part of this is being fueled by shorts that are getting squeezed at this point. And I don't know why people are shorting stocks. And I see a lot of it with this 50-day moving average flattening out. It's just not a good idea. Okay, let's move on to VCLK. And this is Value Click, and we've talked about this stock a couple times recently. It was on the September 9th video. And basically what we're looking at, as you can see the trend lines here, this pennant or symmetrical triangle that's forming up off this nice breakaway move. And let's take a look at money stream here. I think it looks really good. See that? Nice leading divergence there. Good buying down here in BOP. This is going to be resolved, I'm quite sure, on the upside. Maybe there's a downside breakout though, a shakeout, because I've seen quite a few of these lately. So, you know, keep an eye on that. If you get in, if you make a nice entry and you get in down by the trend line, then you don't have as much risk and you can kind of ride out that shakeout. And one of the things you want to look for in a shakeout is light volume, and you want to look for it to reverse possibly a little bit towards the end of the day and head back up. And that's what we saw in SLXA today. Let's move along here to ADPT, and what we have here is ADPT Inc., which is computer hardware, networking, and communication devices. Let's see, what's the deal here? This was on the blog September 7th. I mentioned that I think there's a base forming. If we take a look at that 50-day moving average, see it flattening out again. And, you know, we'll get a nice buy signal here with this 22-day moving average crossing above. So we mentioned this September 7th, we being I. And here we are at the 12th, and we had this nice move. So almost 4%. It's not really technically significant. There was no heavy volume, and it didn't break out. But I think it is indicative of things to come here in this particular stock. Let's take a look here. Not much happening, but there's improvement in TSV as it makes this base here. So keep an eye on that one. Keep that on the radar. I promised I would show you a symmetrical triangle that functioned as a top, because we saw SLXA, which is functioning as a bottom. And here's Archer Daniels Midland. And I've been watching this one. I was thinking about bringing it up on the blog, saying, well, you know, this is a potential short. And the reason I say it's a potential short is because of where this is formed. If it were to form at a bottom, I'd say, well, this is probably a bottom formation. But, you know, look at the markup that we've seen in this stock from $20 to $45. And we saw a lot of volume here, and it just hasn't gone anywhere recently. So it kind of warns us that something may be up, and we see this formation up here. You know, our typical stock cycle is, and this isn't typical right here, but usually we have a base, we have a period of markup. So here's our accumulation, here's our markup where they're selling to retail, and then we get distribution up here and then decline. So this looks like it was in a phase of distribution, and it's down 3% today. I think I have time for SMI before I bring up another video. And this was on the blog August 27th. I think I had a video, and it was on August 28th. So this is semiconductor. Basically, you know, look at the volume here, and it's just huge. I'm going to pull up a weekly chart. There we go on the weekly chart. So what does that tell you? I mean, here's this decline, and then you get this big spike in volume. I mean, you know, it tells me something is up. Look at MACD. Nice and low over here. We have a lower low over here, and MACD is positive. It's actually almost above the 0 line. So SMI looks really hot. I think it's going to go places. I'm out of time. I'll be back.